Good morning. Welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Thursday, March the 27th, and we're here to look at new releases that are published this week in the realm of fantasy and science fiction. Hope you had a good night, good sleep. I slept well, but I sure wanted some more when the alarm went off. Mary says, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Let us fly to the moon with sci-fi picks today and enjoy the trip. That is a fabulous sentiment. Appreciate that. Thank you. Let us do just that. Quick announcements. I do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Here's a big name in sci-fi to start us off. John Scalzi has a new one. This is When the Moon Hits Your Eye. The moon has turned into cheese. Now humanity has to deal with it. For some, it's an opportunity. For others, it's a moment to question their faith in God, in science, in everything. Still others try to keep the world running in the face of absurdity and uncertainty. And then there are the billions looking to the sky and wondering how a thing that has always just there is now something absolutely impossible. Astronauts and billionaires, comedians and bank executives, professors and presidents, teenagers and terminal patients at the end of their lives, over the length of an entire lunar cycle, each get their moment in the moonlight, to panic, to plan, to wonder and to pray, to laugh and to grieve, all in a kaleidoscopic novel that goes all the places you'd expect and then to so many places you wouldn't. It's a wild moonage daydream. Ride this rocket. That's kind of echoing Mary's sentiment. He's usually a little bit more sci-fi than fantasist, absurdist, surrealist like that, but hey, he can do what he wants to now. Hi, Emily. I've heard okay things about this. I have too, surprisingly. I have too. Disillusion by Nicholas Binge. That is a great last name for an author. Maggie Webb has lived the last decade caring for her elderly husband Stanley as memory loss gradually erases all the beautiful moments they created together. It's the loneliest she's ever felt in her life. When a mysterious stranger named Hassan appears at her door, he reveals a shocking truth. Stanley isn't losing his memories. Someone is actively removing them to hide a long-buried secret from coming to light. If Maggie does what she's told, she can reverse it. She can get her husband back. Led by Hassan and his technological marvels, Maggie breaks into her husband's mind, probing the depths of his memories in an effort to save him. The deeper she dives, the more she unravels a mystery spanning continents and centuries, each layer more complex than the last. But Hassan cannot be trusted. Not just memories are disappearing, but pieces of reality itself. If Maggie cannot find out what Stanley did all those years ago and what Hassan is after, she risks far more than her husband's life. The very course of human history hangs in the balance. Also rather speculative. And this one's probably going to be very big, or is very big, by Gregory Maguire. It's an addition to the Wicked storyline. This is called Elfie. Mary says hi to Emily, and I hope Emily is enjoying her spring break. What happened to young, I was trying to get past the blurbage, what happened to young Elphaba before her witchy powers took hold in Wicked? Almost 30 years after the publication of the original novel, for the first time, Gregory Maguire reveals the story of prickly young Elfie, the future Wicked Witch of the West, setting the stage for the blockbuster international phenomenon that is Wicked, the musical. Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, will grow to have a feisty and somewhat uncompromising character in adult life. But she is always a one-off. From her infancy, Elfie is the riveting coming-of-age story of a very peculiar and relatable young girl. Young Elfie is shaped and molded by the behaviors of her promiscuous mother, Milena, and her pious father, Frex. She suffers ordinary childhood jealousies when her sister, saintly Nessa Rose, and her brother, Junior felon Shell arrive. She first encounters the mistreatment of the animal populations of Oz, which live adjacent but not intertwined with the human settlements, haunted by a monkey and receiving aid from dwarf bears. She thrashes through her first bruising attempts at friendship, a possible lifeline from her tricky family life, and she gleans the benefits of an education, haphazard though it must be, until she arrives at the doors of the Shiz University, about to meet the radiant creature that is Galinda. Elfie is destined to be a witch. She bears the markings from childhood, most evidently in her green skin, but more obscurely and profoundly in her cunning and perhaps immoral behaviors, as she seeks to make do, to slip by, to sneak out, to endure, and to aspire. Exquisite Ruin. Emily says hi back to Mary. Emily is enjoying her spring break, getting things done and relaxing. Today is lab work. Our service manager is getting his knee replaced today, so the next few days we are having to do that job too. This is by Adrian May, first in the Labyrinth series. It's a darkly romantic reimagining of the Minotaur myth. In this deadly maze, the most dangerous thing may be the passion between them. Sadare wakes in a labyrinth, remembering nothing except that she is a powerful sorceress. Her only companion is a hostile immortal named Desra, beautiful, dangerous, and demonic, who bounds his divine soul for power and revenge. Despite their animosity, the two have no choice but to work together to reach the center and defeat the monster who prevents their escape. But the longer they wander, the more deadly and alive the maze seems. The more Sadari finds herself drawn to Desra in ways she can't explain. As sorceress and demon develop a tenuous truce, the labyrinth gives Sadari glimpses of their shared history of passion and pain that make her question everything she knows. Unlocking the secrets of her past may be the only way to survive and heal their entwined fates. But as she learns more about the betrayals that brought them to the labyrinth, Sadari begins to fear that the monster at the center could be Desra or even herself. That is such a common thing anymore. The monster's inside me. End of row 1. Psychopomp by Maria Dong. That's an unfortunate name. On the penal colony of Hibiscus Station, there's no personnel more vital than the Pomps, who direct the excavation of highly volatile crystal. Young was in training to be a Pomp until a mental break and subsequent suicide attempt derailed her, and now she's unraveling again. But when her secret hallucinations predict a tunnel explosion that kills her entire crew, she's offered a surprise second chance to complete her Pomp training, which she accepts in hopes of paying off the penal debt that is keeping her from going home. But the more she trains, the more her paranoia takes hold. What if the tunnel collapse wasn't an accident? And what if everyone, her new crew, the station staff, even her lover, are all part of the deadly conspiracy? The Serpent Called Mercy by Roanne Lau. And lots of blurbage. Lithlet and her only friend Dezel are shackled to a life of debt and poverty that she fears they will never escape. Desperate for money, they sign up as conquistors, arena combatants who fight sun-cursed beasts in the seedy underworld of the city. Matchmaster Dothalos is initially enamored of Dezel's brawling reputation, but after seeing Lithlet lead the pair to triumph with her quick cunning, he takes her under his wing, scorning Dezel. Ambition takes root in Lithlet's heart as a life of fame and wealth unfolds in her imagination. But Lithlet isn't the only one out for coin and glory. She soon finds herself playing an entirely different game, a game of politics and deception. As the cost of her ambition grows, she will have to decide if sacrificing her honor and only friendship is worth the price to shape her own fortune. I have comments about fantasy in general. Tideborn by Eliza Chan, second in the Drowned World series. A tsunami and a dragon's wish have wrought changes upon the city of Tiankawa that have never been seen before, but shared experiences have not healed the rift between the city's fathom folk and human citizens, and scars from years of oppression still remain. Mira, a half-siren and activist, fights politicians and her own people to rebuild her city and to uncover a deadly conspiracy, and Nami, the dragon princess, undertakes a daring ocean voyage alongside friend and foe in order to convince a mythical titan not to destroy Tiankawa for its crimes. ... To Steal from Thieves, first in the Thieves and Kings series. We don't know if it's a trilogy, duology, whatever. So when it says one of one, I just say series. This is by M.K. Lob. And he says there's nothing right now that is interesting to me. Yeah, I grew up with epic fantasy, and I miss those. I really do. To Steal from Thieves, I already said that title. Within the dazzling halls of London's Crystal Palace, the event... I have a sneeze trying to happen here. Excuse me. The event of the season has arrived. The great exhibition, an opportunity for the greatest minds of the century to come together under one roof in an unprecedented display of art and invention. And for two unlikely partners in crime, it's about to become the score of a lifetime. Charming conman Kane Durante works alone, or on occasion with his best friend Fletcher, but when his boss, the infamous kingpin of London's magical dark magic market, gives him the impossible task of stealing a priceless artifact from the great exhibition, he knows it's a job he can't pull off alone. Enter Zaria Mendoza, daughter of one of London's greatest alchemologists. Ever since her father's death, Zaria has been struggling to keep her underground business afloat, and impatient clients are becoming violent. When the infuriatingly handsome Kane offers her the promise of enough money to get out of debt and leave London entirely, she knows she can't walk away from this dangerous partnership. But robbing one of the most public, heavily guarded buildings in London isn't going to be easy, especially when love and betrayal threaten to ruin everything they've worked so hard for. End of that row. Mary says, Emily, I know what you mean, and it's not just in books for me. Ah, yes. Mary having a hard time getting motivated about much of anything. Rot roll. That's when you ask yourself, what do I want to do right now? Not what you have to do, not anything like that, just what do I want to do right now? And if you say, I want to nap, you do that. If I want to go look at pretty things, you go do that. The Orphan's King by C.R.R. Hillen. First in the Orphan's Code. This is a debut. He came from nothing. With sheer force of will, Keo's brother Liam managed to crawl from the gutters and free himself from the parents who treated him like a slave, an orphanage that treated him like a prisoner, and an entire... He had parents, but also an orphanage? And an entire city that turned their backs on him. But from nothing, he rose to become a vigilante who brought justice to the corrupt and greedy when no one else would, wielding fire and steel to give everyone, from the city guard to the tyrant king, what they deserved. He stood up for the poor, the outcasts, and the downtrodden, and they crowned him as the beggar's king. But now he's gone, and Keo, who comes from less than nothing, can't take his place, even if he wanted to, which he doesn't. And so did she. She never had a name or a home or a family. She never needed one. But then an opportunity falls literally into her lap, and a group of outcasts just like her offer her a home. They even give her a name, Rose. That nameless girl would have robbed them blind and left them to starve or be captured. But Rose, that's someone new. And as the king cracks down on the city around her, Rose sees a chance to save the legacy of the beggar's king and bring back to life the only man the king ever feared. The Deathly Grim, the Forest Grimm duology, book number 2, by Catherine Purdy. Emerging from the shadows of the forest grim, Clara and Axel return to their village, the one place they can be safe behind the forest border. But when the trees themselves begin luring villagers into the forest, it becomes clear that the darkness they battled was merely a whisper of true horror lurking there. Burdened by unsettling visions and bound by a love as perilous as the cursed woods that call to them, Clara and Axel must once again enter the forest to unearth the sinister secret at its heart. As they fight murderous woodsmen wielding riddles sharp as blades, spectral maidens who threaten to drag them into an eternal dance, and phantoms able to use the very essence of the forest against them, Clara and Axel realize the stakes are higher than ever. If they can't break the curse once and for all, they may not have a home to return to. ... Makes me wish I were rich and I would start a publishing house and I would seek out authors who write real fantasy. But I am not rich. The Shadow Bride by Shelby Mahurin, second in the Scarlet Veil duology. Seeley's life is over. She took her final breath trying to save the people she loves, including the powerful and enigmatic drinking game Vampire King, Michal. Maybe I'll just say Michael because it's easier, who refused to let her go. When Seeley wakes, she cannot walk in the sun. She can hear her friends' heartbeats and she craves their blood. Michal has cursed her to the eternal existence of a vampire, but Seeley isn't the only dead roaming the earth. Her sister, Philippa, has returned as a shadow of her former self, and other revenants are rising from their graves intent on revenge. The fragile balance between life and death has broken, awakening an even darker force, and he is coming for Seeley, ready to claim her as his bride. With the fate of the world at stake, Seeley and Michal must set aside their searing attraction to mend the veil and right the balance once and for all. Second Chances by Michael Simon, second in the First Command series. Humanity's war with the Coven is going badly. Fleet simply doesn't have the ships or the manpower to counter the aliens' vast reserves, so Cole Jackson is hauled out of his self-imposed exile and ordered back to the front. The admirals are gambling on a miracle that he and his crew can repeat the success of his first command by repairing vessels and sending them into battle, and maybe snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Fleet has been gathering damaged and deserted ships in a remote system on the edge of human-controlled space. Without transport, Jackson's crew must travel on an obsolete military simulator without shields or weapons. When they run into a Coven warship, it's all Jackson can do to keep them alive as both ships crash land on the planet. In a running battle with cyborg warriors, Jackson must avoid alien patrols, build rudimentary weapons, and cobble together some type of ship that would see them escape the Death Planet and change the course of the war. End of that row. Battle Stations by Daniel Gibbs, first in the Iron Fleet series. War never promised an easy tomorrow. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Hansen suffers from imposter syndrome. While grateful for promotion to second in command of the CSV Margaret Thatcher, he's still a nerdy engineer at heart. The CDF's presence in the Orion Spur is to project strength and maintain peace among the former League-held settlements. Confronting minor skirmishes is a cakewalk compared to open war, but freedom demands a price. Without warning, coordinated terrorist strikes across the Spur leave the fleet limping on life support. The Margaret Thatcher herself narrowly escapes destruction at an unspeakable cost. With the fleet decimated and backup stalled behind the political power plays, Colonel Hansen is forced into shoes he feels ill-qualified to fill. But as ranking officer, survivors look to him to lead the charge against terrorists who wantonly rape and murder with no regard for the innocent. Now Arthur must steel his spine and rise to the challenge of his namesake ship, because the Iron Lady does not turn from the fight. Yasmin Galenorn has a new one. Haunted Eclipse First in Married at First Bite series. My name is Maisie Trippwater, and I've recently moved to Midnight Point, Washington, a small island community in the Samish Bay, where I am starting my life over again after a devastating house fire destroys everything I own except my Maine Coon named Miss P and the clothes on my back. I'm a witch with a specialty in finding people. I use my powers to find life partners for my clients through Married at First Bite, my fated mate's business. When Brenda Klein comes seeking her true partner after a disastrous first marriage, I go to work. But as I delve deeper into why Brenda can't seem to find true love, I discover that the ghost of Brenda's first husband is doing everything he can to prevent his widow from discovering happiness, and he's getting more and more violent in his attempts to stop her from finding love again. Now I'm quickly becoming a target myself, and I'm going to need every trick in my arsenal to put the spirit to rest before he drags me to a grisly end, and then to match Brenda with the man she's destined to spend her life with. One more. We'll do this really fast because the alarm is going to go any second now. The Rebel and the Captive by Chris K. Haynes. Third in the Memory Puller series. Oh, it talks about major spoilers. Sparks of rebellion can catch fire even in the darkest hour. I'm not going to read it because it says spoilers, so here's book number 3 in the Memory Puller series by Chris K. Haynes. Well, if there's spoilers, write better summaries. Well, that is all we have for today. I do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. They go for 2.5 hours. And tomorrow is Friday, thank goodness, and it's Freeform Friday, so we'll be looking at the rest of the Cozy Mysteries from Monday, and if anything else has caught my attention that sounds interesting, but mostly we'll be looking at the cozies from Monday. Hope you have a good Thursday, and I'm sending you all kinds of love and healing and good thoughts and reading good books. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.